4 seasons. 4 full seasons of From. Hundreds of attacks. Dozens of bodies. And in every single one of them, you have never once seen a monster run. Sit with that for a second. Every predator on Earth chases when it hunts. Wolves run down a deer. Lions sprint the second they smell blood. Even your dog breaks into a full sprint the moment you throw a ball across the yard. But these things, they just walk. Slow, steady, calm. Like they're not hunting anyone at all. Like they're delivering a message, and they've got all the time in the world to deliver it. And that single detail is what cracked this whole theory open for me. Because once you stop watching From as a horror show and start watching it like a crime scene, the monsters stop looking like monsters. They start looking like a system, a very old, very deliberate system. And tonight, I'm laying out every piece of evidence that nobody on this fandom is talking about. Exhibit 1. The walk itself. Watch any attack scene back. The creatures never break into a sprint, even when their target is running flat out in the opposite direction. They don't need to, because they're not actually chasing you, they're herding the township. Every slow step, every patient turn, every time a creature lets someone get a head start, that's not mercy, that's funneling. They're pushing the population down specific streets, into specific buildings, away from specific exits. That's not a hunting pattern, that's a cattle drive. And cattle drives only work if the herd stays alive long enough to be driven again tomorrow. Exhibit 2. The survival policy. Ask yourself the question this show never lets you ask out loud. Why are there always survivors? 47 people left in this town after 4 seasons of nightly slaughter. 47. If these things wanted Fromville gone, they could erase it in a single night. They've shown they're strong enough, fast enough, numerous enough. So why don't they? The uncomfortable answer: they need a living population. Because if there's no herd left standing, there's nothing left to manage, nothing left to fear, nothing left to feed whatever system keeps this whole nightmare running. Killing everyone would end the job, and something here does not want the job to end. Exhibit 3. The caves. You've been told the caves are where the creatures sleep, where they retreat to during the day. Home base. Wrong. A cave is not a bedroom. A cave is a strategic point, a guard post positioned for one purpose: controlling access to anyone who gets close to the center of this town's real secret. Stack those 3 pieces together: the herding walk, the managed survivors, the cave checkpoints, and one question should be keeping you up tonight. Why aren't they running? Walk slowly instead of chasing. Keep just enough people alive. Guard the caves like checkpoints, not homes. 3 pieces of evidence. 1 picture forms, and it's worse than anything this show has shown us directly. What if the monsters aren't the prisoners of this town? What if they never were the threat at all? What if they're the guards? What if every single creature that's torn through Colony House, every nocturnal killing, every scream in the dark, what if all of it has been containment, not conquest? What if they're standing between us and something older? Something buried directly underneath this town that makes the creatures themselves look like house pets by comparison. That's the theory, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Every fan theory video says the same line: fear feeds the town. I used to say it too, but I think that sentence is missing the most important word. Fear isn't food here. Fear is infrastructure. Fear is a management tool, and it's being used with surgical precision. Look at exactly what fear accomplishes in this town, piece by piece. It keeps people locked to their curfews. Nobody's out wandering after dark, which means nobody's stumbling into places they shouldn't be. It stops anyone from pushing past the forest line, because crossing that boundary doesn't just risk your life, it risks exposing whatever's actually back there. And it keeps the entire human population predictable. Scared people don't investigate. Scared people don't dig. Scared people build talismans and pray and wait for sunrise. They don't go looking for bone chambers and sealed doors and sacrificial sites underneath their own basements. They're not terrorizing the herd for fun. They're managing it, carefully, methodically, so that the real prison underneath Fromville stays exactly where it is, locked. There is something older than the creatures, something far more dangerous than anything that's walked these streets at night. And it is buried directly underneath this town. I'm not pulling this out of thin air. The evidence has been on your screen since Season 1. You just weren't looking at it the right way. The caves. We already established they're not homes. They're guard posts, positioned at the gates of something. The bones. Every theory assumes those children's bones are victims' remains, tragic relics of a sacrifice gone wrong. What if they're stakes? Physical anchors pinning something down, the way you drive a peg through a tent in a storm. Pull the stakes, and whatever's underneath stops being contained. And the trees, the carved symbols, the entire layout of this forest that always seems to lead people back to the center, no matter which direction they walk. That's not a maze for the fun of it. That's a security system, one built to herd outsiders away from the one location that actually matters. The seal, the center, the thing underneath all of this. Every piece of folklore the town clings to, the talismans, the curfews, the warnings about the forest, all of it orbits around keeping people away from that center point. Not because the town's leaders are paranoid, because something down there is worse than anything currently walking the streets at night. So here's a question this theory finally answers. Why is Fatima changing? Her heart rate and blood pressure should already mean she's dead, clinically, mathematically, and yet she's still standing, still talking, still tethered to something none of the doctors in that clinic can explain. The answer is worse than she's sick. This system doesn't run forever on the same guards. Guards die. Guards weaken. Smiley gets killed once already, remember, and the system didn't collapse. It replaced him. That's the pattern. When a creature falls, weakens, or gets taken out of commission, the town doesn't fall apart. It recruits. It finds the next vessel, the next body capable of carrying the role forward, and it starts the conversion. Fatima isn't dying. Fatima is being promoted. And if that's true, it means every single death in this town, every creature you've ever cheered for watching die, might just be opening a vacancy. So here's where 4 seasons of evidence actually leaves us. The monsters that tore apart our families. The same creatures we've spent years screaming at our screens about, begging the survivors to kill. They might be the only thing standing between this town and the end of the world. Think about what that means for every victory this show has given us. Every monster Boyd's ever put down. Every creature Smiley killed in that basement. Every single win the fandom celebrated might have been a guard post going dark. So if Boyd finally succeeds, if he manages to wipe out every last creature standing watch over this town, is he the hero who finally frees Fromville? Or is he the man who rips open the gates to something the creatures spent decades holding shut? Here's what I want you to actually sit with tonight. If you were standing exactly where Boyd is standing right now, rifle in hand, every creature finally in your sights, would you pull the trigger anyway? Would you risk tearing down the wall just to finally be free of the thing guarding it? Or would you let the monsters keep their grip on this town if it meant the real door stayed shut? Tell me in the comments, and don't lie to yourself. Do you still think you're the victim in this story? If this just changed the way you're going to watch every future episode, subscribe, and come argue this out with me on Drama Crypt. There's a lot more buried in this town than anyone's ready for.